Hi, this is Mrs. Gokin coming to you live from C124, Mr. Hare's room. Today we're going to discuss Lesson 7.5. We've been discussing linear equations like the one you see on the screen, y equals 2x plus 2, and you see the graph to the left. Today we're going to discuss linear inequalities. The only thing that's going to change is that equal sign is going to become an inequality sign, like the one that you see on the screen now. It says y is greater than 2x plus 2. How is that going to change? The only thing that really is going to change is how we graph it. We'll deal with that a little bit later. Right now I want to talk about where we've come from and what we're going to go to. So we started out originally with equations like x equals 2. How would you graph something like that? All of you guys should know. It's just going to be a solid point at 2, like the one on the screen. Then we moved on to inequalities. You've got x is less than 2. How would you graph something like that? Well, it's going to be an open circle because it's just less than. Which direction is our line going to go? Well, it says x is less than 2. Which numbers are less than 2? The ones to the left. Move on to linear equations and linear inequalities. Y equals x plus 1. How would you graph something like that? Well, it's going to be a solid line, like the one that you see here. And then y is greater than x plus 1. How are you going to graph that? Come on, you guys should know. It's going to be a dotted line. That's correct, because it is greater than. It does not have the equal sign below, and it's the shaded region above, because that's the region that's greater than. Now let's talk about x is less than 2. What kind of point are you going to put on your graph? Well, if it were me, I would put an open circle because it does not include the point 2. It's just the points less than 2. Down here, it includes x is greater than or equal to 3. It includes the point 3, so it's going to be a solid circle. Now, I'm sure all of you guys know this stuff, but I just wanted to review it just in case you forgot. Y is less than negative 4x plus 6. To graph that, is it going to be a solid line or a dotted line? It's going to be a dotted line because it does not include the points that are on that line. Now you're going to have to figure out which region to shade. It says less than, so it would be the region below. And the bottom one, y is greater than or equal to 2x minus 3, it's going to be a solid line as you see on the screen. If you've forgotten any of this or I went too fast, just rewind and listen to it again. Make sure that you understand all of this information before you proceed. Let's start with our first inequality. How are we going to graph this linear inequality? Well, we worked with this formula, the slope-intercept form. I'm sure you all remember it. Can you recall it? It's y equals mx plus b. Well, you can do that also with an inequality. Y is greater than or less than mx plus b. We've got 3x plus 4y is greater than 8. Basically, all you have to do is isolate your y variable. How are you going to do that? Well, you're going to subtract 3x from both sides. You're left with 4y is greater than negative 3x plus 8, because this is the standard format. And then to isolate your y, you have to divide by 4. Divide both sides by 4. You end up with y is greater than negative 3/4 x plus 2. How are we going to graph this? See if you can figure it out on your own. Pause for a moment. Okay. How are you going to graph it? Well, you got to remember that your y-intercept is 2. So put a point at 2, like you see on the screen. What are you going to do next? Well, of course, you're going to use your slope to graph your other 2 points. You're going to go down 3 to the right 4, or up 3 to the left 4. We're going to put both of those points in. Is it going to be a solid line, or is it going to be a dotted line? I hope you guys have figured it out already. Of course, it's going to be a dotted line because it's just greater than. It does not include the points on the line. Are we done? Of course not. We got to figure out which region we're going to graph. And as you see on the screen, it is the region above the line because it says y is greater than. So it's the region that is greater than this line. I hope that makes sense. If not, let's try another one. I would urge you to pause right now and see if you can graph this one on your own. It's the same format as the other one. Okay, if you paused and you're back now, hopefully you realized you had to isolate your y variable again. To do that, we're going to subtract 3x from both sides. You're left with negative 5y is less than or equal to negative 3x plus 10. You still don't have y by itself. You need to divide both sides by negative 5. That's every single term by negative 5. You're left with y is less than or equal to 3/5 x minus 2. What's the deal? Did we do something wrong? What did we forget? Of course, we forgot to change our inequality sign to flip it the other direction because we divided by a negative number. It should read y is greater than or equal to 3/5 x minus 2. If you forget to do that, you're going to shade the wrong region. So all we have to do now is find our y-intercept. Since it's minus 2, we know it's negative 2. We put a point at negative 2, and we're going to use 3/5 our slope to find our other 2 points. Up 3 to the right 5, down 3 to the left 5. Here's our point at negative 2. Here's our next 2 points, and it is a solid line. The solid line is there because it is greater than or equal to. And it's the region above the line that we're going to shade because it's greater than. Let's review a few points, and then we'll be done with the lesson for today. Y is less than. What am I looking for here? I'm looking for, is it going to be a solid line? Is it going to be a dotted line? Which region are we going to shade? Pause for a moment and see if you can answer all these questions before I give you the answers. Okay, so if it's y is less than, we know that it's going to be a dotted line because there's not an equal sign under it. Which region are we going to shade? Shade above or below? We are going to shade below. The next one, it's going to be a solid line because it's less than or equal to. It includes every point on that line. Above or below? Of course, it's going to be below. Good job. And then y is greater than. Again, it's a dotted line just like this one, and we're going to shade the region above. And the very last one, y is greater than or equal to, it's going to be a solid line just like this one, and it's going to be the region above because it's greater than. If you have any questions, come see Mr. Hare or myself, and we'll be glad to help you. Have a great day.